And then coming forward into tabletop, tuck your toes under, so having your hands under your shoulders, knees under hips, and just rock a little side to side, nice and loose, so allowing your spine to snake a little. And today we're going to have a look at the iliotibial band. So IT band can cause a syndrome, meaning that it's a pain that keeps on happening. So we're just warming the hips up here now a little. Take your hands a little bit further forward, and then you're going to rock forward and roll your hips. So you want to go in circles. You might want to pad your knees if your knees are a bit uncomfortable like this. And then go back the other way, just drawing hips with the circles, and just feeling as you go outwards, as you press the hips out to the side and go round, noticing if there's any kind of impingement through the hip, which is a little pinching maybe around the outer side of the hip. Okay, and then come to stand. So just briefly, I know I've talked about the IT band before, but it stretches on the outside of the hips. It's from the iliac crest, which is this bony point of your pelvis, stretches out, and then it's a connective tissue, so it's not a muscle, it's like a thick piece of webbing that goes on the outside of the thigh and attaches to the tibia, which is the bone on. It crosses the outside of the knee and attaches to the lower leg, and its purpose is to stabilize the knee. So when you're flexing and there's any lateral movement in the knee, the IT band is this kind of almost solid. It hardly stretches, it may be about 5%. So often cyclists, runners, people whose legs bow or come in either way, and maybe you've got one leg that's slightly shorter than the other, so there's more pressure on one side of the thigh than the other. So you might just have knee pain, you might have hip pain, or I mean, I've had in the past, I've had both, and it's like the popping sound almost, and you get friction across the joint. So where it was so tight, it was popping across the ball. The ball of at the top of the femur, it's like a popping there for me, and also pain in the knee here. So we're going to try and stretch. So firstly, we're going to warm up. So we're going to come through our sun salutes. So standing with your feet hip distance apart, thinking of your Tadasana mountain alignment. So lifting your toes, spreading them, placing them down, feeling that complete grounding, all four corners of the feet. Lift up through the thighs, so feel that connection to the ground as the energy lifts up. Inhale, palms go out, lift the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Hands up, bring your palms together, reaching up. Feel that lift up through the thighs, the core. Exhale, floating forward, forward fold. So just come into ragdoll here a moment. Bend your knees slightly. So relax your head and then hang on to your elbows. And with knees slightly bent, just rock a little sway side to side. Feeling through the thighs. Let the head and shoulders relax. And then inhale, just slowly curling back up again. And then exhale, lift up through the thighs, tip the front of the hips forward. Sorry, bend the knees again. Relax down. We're feeling our hamstrings. So back to the thighs might be a little tight, so it's like a lift. Just lift up a little, straighten the thighs slightly, bend again. And come to halfway lift. Ardha Uttanasana, pressing the palms into the shins, extend the chest forward. So as you come to a flat back, so straight arms, straighten the spine, lift up through the core. Trying to turn the tailbone up, feel the backs of the legs here. Doesn't matter even if you don't have straight legs here. You can have the knees bent, but you want to feel into the hamstrings. Then exhale, palms down, step back. And everybody roll into plank. Drop your knees where they fall, so don't bring them forward, just drop them down behind the hips. Squeeze your ankles, your shins towards each other, so they're staying parallel, but feel that energy. Roll the eye of the elbows forward, and then lowering to the mat. Cobra, touch the tops of the feet down and the pubic bone curling up. Hug the elbows in, draw the shoulders away from your ears. Just holding this a little. Feel the thighs as you press the pubic bone down. Extend the chest forward. Then exhale, lying back on the mat. Tuck the toes under, come back to your knees. And then lift up into down dog. Paddle the knees, but this time you're going to cross the knees under you. So feel the hip rolling. Pressing one heel down and then the other, feeling that movement. Now lowering the heels. Come up on your toes, bend your knees, look forward. Come forward to halfway lift, extending the spine. Squeeze your core, tip your tailbone up. Hold here for a moment. So just feeling, you can bend your knees slightly, lift again, feeling through the backs of the thighs. Exhale, fold. So you can hold onto your elbows if you can't reach the ground. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Okay, one more, just complete round. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, hands up. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Tip the tailbone up. Exhale, palms down. Roll into plank. Drop your knees. Hug the elbows in. Lower. And don't banana down. Don't let the hips hit the ground first. Inhale, Cobra. And feel as if in Cobra, feel that energy of squeezing the thighs towards each other. Exhale. Lying back on the mat, tuck the toes under, lift to the knees. And then up into down dog. This time, just feeling where it feels good for you. If you need to stay on your toes, bend your knees. Push through your palms, lift your tailbone. If you can, you'll take the thigh bones back and bring the heels towards the mat. Take 2 more breaths here. Really pressing through the index finger and the thumb. Inhale, up on your toes, bend your knees, look forward. If you want to hop forward, start to almost claw with your finger pads, press the whole of the palm down, look forward, hop. Come to halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale. Hands to heart center. So from in Uttanasana, forward fold, we're now going to do a variation. So you're going to stand and then bring your hands to your hips, feet are hip distance apart, and you're going to cross the left leg over the right, but making sure, so legs are straight, making sure you don't twist off to the side. You still want your hips to face forward, but press both big toes down so the soles of the feet are flat. And then from here, squeeze the thighs towards each other, lift up through the core. On your hands are on the bony part of your pelvis, so you're going to bring that forward, turn it forward, so you tip your tailbone up, and then start to fold. So making sure, you might want your block. So it's not about reaching for the ground, this is about the iliotibial band. So you want to press firmly through all four corners of the feet, reach the chest forward, tip the tailbone up, relax your head. If you can't fold all the way, then don't. So don't do this thing where you're just reaching with your arms. You can rest your hands on the block if you want to, or keep them on your hips. But it's about feeling the straight, so squeeze the thighs towards each other, tip the tailbone up. And just breathing into that. Inhale, reach the chest forward. So you want to come out the way you went in, squeeze your core, squeeze the thighs towards each other. Coming up, exhale, and to cross the legs the other way. Same thing. Squeeze the thighs towards each other, press all four corners of the feet into the mat. Lift up through the core, take the tailbone back, so turning the front of the pelvis down. Reach into your block or wherever feels good. Relax your head and shoulders, squeeze your core. And it's about what's happening in the leg that's behind. So see if you can feel it. Particularly trying to press into the big toe edge of the foot. Keep the foot flat. Inhale, reach the chest forward. Squeeze the thighs, coming up. Exhale, uncross. The IT band also it's attaching to there's the tensor fasciae lata, this tiny little muscle that crosses over the front of the hip. Also your glute minimus and the glute medius, so the side of the buttock as well. So we're going to try and stretch through that too. So coming into a lunge, you're going to take the right foot back, fingertips down, runner's lunge. So you want to squeeze the back thigh, so it lifts up, squeeze the thighs to the midline, reach your chest forward. And look down, make sure the left knee is above the left ankle. What tends to happen if we're either tight or too weak from the outside of the thigh will roll inwards or it'll just collapse out. So you want to use the muscles in alignment. So now drop the right knee down. Flatten the foot, you might want to pad your knee. And then coming up into a low lunge. So just rest the hands on the thigh. Don't lean heavily forward. Up nice and straight so you can sink the hips. So now we're stretching through the front of the right hip. Also, you'll be feeling a little stretch through the glute on the left leg. Take the right palm down under the right shoulder. So that means the left foot and the right hand are shoulder width apart. Keep sinking the hips and then take the left hand up, twist. So you're rolling left side of the ribs open, bringing the right side of your chest across towards the thigh. Keep sinking the hips. Exhale, palms down, tuck the right toes under. Lifting the left leg up. Placing the left foot next to the right. And we're going to roll forward into plank. You're going to come down, so you can drop your knees if you need to, but you're going to come down onto, in fact, do drop your knees, because you want to do this carefully. So come down onto your right forearm, and you're going to cross the arm slightly across in front of you, so the elbow is under the right shoulder, but the right palm is across in front of you. So now lift your leg, so you're in forearm plank, you're going to roll onto the side. So the feet are stacked. Squeeze the hips towards each other so you're not sagging down. So you want to push up through the right elbow. Lift the left arm up. this might be enough. If you can, you're going to lift the left leg. Flex the feet, so you're bent at the ankles, and lower. 3 times if you can, lift and lower. So keeping that energy through the shoulders, so you want to keep pushing up through the elbow. Roll back round. You can come to your knees if you need to, but come back up into down dog. Inhale, lift the right leg up, roll forward into plank, knee to nose, place the right foot between your hands, runner's lunge. So you want to squeeze the thighs to the midline, lift up through the left thigh, reach the chest forward, right knee above right ankle. And drop the left knee down, flatten the foot, come up onto the right thigh. So just gently straight that thigh forward, sink your hips. Then left hand down under the left shoulder. Keep sinking the hips, reach the right arm up, and you're going to twist, but you want to keep that length in the spine. So core engaged, reach the chest forward. And roll it. So you're squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, but opening the chest, so you're rolling the right side of the chest up, keep pushing up through the left hand. Don't allow the right knee to roll out, because that's what you want to do. Keep it above the ankle. And then exhale, palms down. And then tuck the left toe under, lift up through the back thigh. Step back into down dog. So I'll turn sides to show you. So we're going to come into side plank again. So onto your knees, take the left hand, the left forearm and palm down, cross them across in front of you. So the elbow is under the left shoulder. So always making sure the shoulders are safe. You need to keep that. So instead of sinking down into the shoulder joint, you want to press up through the forearm, the elbow, so you've got length. Lift the chest up. Take your legs into plank, roll onto the outside edge of the left foot. Squeeze the thighs towards each other, don't let the hip sag. You might only be able to do one, and if you need to keep the right hand down, that's okay. If you can, you'll lift, because this gives you lift up through the chest, helps you lift out from the left shoulder, and then lift the right leg. Doesn't have to go too high, it could only be millimeters. It's the activation of the outer glutes. And down, lift one more. Keep the feet flexed. One more. And down, rolling back round. Come up into down dog. Step the left foot forward. Change this way again. So now we're going to come up into warrior two. So bending through the left knee, the left toes are pointing forward, the right foot is parallel to the back of the mat. You want the left heel in line with the instep of the back foot. Sink through the left knee. And then I'll show you this way. So the wider apart your legs are, the more the stretch you get. So if you're not actually, if you're like this, it's very difficult then to feel anything. So if you can, you'll go wider. So then you can take the knee above the ankle and not further. You don't want it to go further forward. But also making sure as you go down, your knee is directly above the ankle. This tends to happen to a lot of people. Okay, that's a weakness from the inner thigh to the outer thigh. So you want to make sure knee above ankle always. And then take your arms wide. I'm showing you the back side of me, but the arms go wide, so you squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other, Lift them up and then roll them down. So shoulder blades down towards the waist. Look over your front hand. Check, can you see your big toe? Should be able to see your big toe as you look down. Hold that for one more breath. And then changing sides. So you can just, I'll just flip round, but you can just turn back the other way. So right foot is now forward. Take your arms wide, look over your front hand. So the IT band, because it's connective tissue, it doesn't really stretch. So we're trying to stretch the muscles around it. So keeping that good alignment through the knee. Also feel a nice stretch on the inner thigh. So helping to even out the outer and the inner thigh. Because the IT band helps to abduct, so take the thigh out to the side. So, okay, then coming, take your block and turn your feet parallel. Prasarita Padottanasana, so that the outer edges of the feet are parallel. Oh, it popped there. So squeeze the ankles and the shins towards the midline, lift up through the pelvic floor, hands to hips. As you take, so like a forward fold, but with the legs apart, same thing, but you're going to, and the wider your legs are, the easier this is. You'll take the tailbone back up. Try not to take your bottom back. You're trying to keep the hips above knees, but turn the front of the hips down. And that stretch on the inside of the thighs. So if you can't reach the ground, then you can hold on to the block, but you want to have your hands under your shoulders and come to a flat back. So we're not folding right forward. Lift up through the thighs. Okay, then bend your knees slightly. Bring your fingertips to the ground. Relax your head down. You're going to walk your hands towards the right foot. Try and straighten your legs. And keep tipping, so taking the tailbone up, so you're tipping the tailbone up. And fold in towards the right thigh if you can. It's almost like a twist. You're turning the left side of the rib cage towards the thigh and opening up through the right. Walk your hands back to center. Other way. And again, relaxing, it's like relaxing the right shoulder down, but press through the inner edges of the feet as much as the outer edge. So you want to flatten the feet, but lift up the tailbone. If you can reach all the way to the ankle, but just get to wherever feels good for you. And no pain. It should feel like a stretch, but no pain through joints. If you feel that, come out of it. Walking the fingertips back to center. And keep the tailbone lifting up. Bend your knees. Start to heel toe the feet towards each other. Come up slowly. So from the front of the mat, you're going to come into pyramid, Parsvottanasana. Take the left foot back, but this time we're not going back too far, maybe a couple of feet, 2.5 feet or so. Hands to hips. Right foot points directly to the front of the mat. The left foot is pointing a little bit out towards the side. Rotate your hips so they're parallel to the front of the mat. Lift up through your thighs, so through your kneecaps lift. And then start to lean forward. So you're going to, same thing, you're going to tip the tailbone up so you can have a straight spine. reach forward. Lift up strongly through the thighs, but particularly that right thigh, and keep the hips level and start to reach the chest forward. And as you do this, as you come forward, your right hip is going to want to roll forward. So pulling up strongly through the right thigh bone, pulling it up into the hip socket. If you want, you can fold, but if you can't, you find that too difficult to keep this position of the legs, you can just reach for the block, bring it on the inside of the foot. So you come to a straight spine. Squeeze the thighs towards the midline, lift up through the kneecaps. If you can, you'll start to fold, but it's not just rounding through the upper back. You want to try and keep that chest projecting forward. So squeeze the pelvic floor, navel to spine, keep the hips level. If you can, you'll start to fold. If you hadn't noticed, it's the front leg that's stretching. And that's why we want to keep the thighs, the hips level to the front of the mat, so you can really feel that intense side stretch. Okay, bend the right knee a little, reach the chest forward, come up, nice and slow. Bring the feet back parallel, take the right foot back, right toes point slightly to the edge of the mat and forward, feet are hip distance apart. So the hips are level to the front of the mat, lift up through the thighs, squeeze them to the midline, reach the chest forward, same thing. You can come to the block or to the ground, whichever. But the further down you come, the more that left hip's going to want to roll forward. So pulling up strongly through the left thigh. Okay, reach the chest forward. You can bend slightly through that left knee, hands to hips. Coming up, exhale, and come to sit on the mat. We're going to overrun by a couple of minutes, hope that's all right. So lie down, feet, knees bent, feet on the mat, and then you're going to cross, so thread the needle, cross the right ankle across the left thigh, flex the foot to protect the knee joint, and then inhale. Take your hands, clasp around the left thigh, so your right hand has gone between your legs. And pull the legs towards you. So keep the head and shoulders relaxed down on the mat. And if you want to deepen it, you bring your hands around your shin. Stretching out through the glute on the right thigh. Still keeping the core engaged. Make sure this foot is flexed. Any pain in the knee, just ease off a little. And then exhale, feet down. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh, flex the foot, thread the needle. You can even, like here, when I'm trying to deepen it, I'm pressing my elbow into, my left elbow into my left thigh to press that thigh out a little more. And then exhale, place the feet down, cross at the ankles, roll to sit, facing me. Hands on your thighs, inhaling deeply, exhaling completely. Bring your palms together at your heart center, lowering your head and opening your eyes. Namaste. Have a lovely day, everyone.